Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It is Monday, August 15th, so we're here in the middle of August, and this is the final week of the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 CLIMAX. So here we go. We're in the final stretch. We've made it through the entire tournament. We have had recaps and reviews of every single night of action thus far here on the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast, and we're going to finish strong. If you're listening to this, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, wherever you're listening to. You know, help us out here, support us. If you have enjoyed the grand in-depth coverage that we've done for this tournament, and we'll probably do it again next year. It's been fun. This is the most I've been keeping up with the G1 in some time. I normally watch, but obviously don't take or haven't taken notes in the capacity that I have for this year's tournament. So, leaving a like, a comment, whatever you want to do, it helps us out. We have a new intro on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening, you'll be hearing it. Much shorter, get you into the action here quicker than before. So instead of a minute long, it's about 35 seconds. If you're new here, I'm Pat. I've been covering the entire G1 tournament by myself here on the podcast, but that does not mean I'm the only person who covers wrestling here for the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. Rob has gotten very consistent with his coverage of Friday Night SmackDown for WWE. It comes out every Friday night or Saturday morning, depending on, recording time for him. Ryan and Angelo continue to cover Impact Wrestling every week. They go in-depth on the latest stuff going on in Impact. Ryan just released a review for the Emergence Impact Plus show, which was headlined by a fantastic match between Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley for the Impact World Championship, so check that out. That's on YouTube and our podcast feeds. Ryan has also started covering NXT UK. I know it's not everybody's, most watched show or anything, but we have the coverage. So it's exclusive to our YouTube channel, so if you are interested in hearing Ryan recap NXT UK every week, he typically keeps it between 20 and 30 minutes long for each show. So if you're just looking to keep up to date, or if you're an NXT UK fan that wants to, hear somebody talk about the show, Ryan is doing it now. So consider checking it out on our YouTube channel. And last but not least, me and Joey have reunited finally after several months of us not doing it. I've been doing it sporadically by myself, but now we're back together, and we are covering AEW Dynamite every week once again. We just covered Quake by the Lake. We had a really good show. So check that out on the podcast feed and on YouTube as well. And if you're on YouTube and you're listening, if this is your first G1 review for us, we have a whole playlist covering chronological order of the entire tournament. So you can start at the beginning. You can get recaps for each night. You can hear the reviews for each night. You can hear what matches you should watch and which ones you shouldn't. And get caught up, because Thursday is the day. Thursday is the finals for this year's tournament, and we're getting there. So if my volume is inconsistent, please forgive me. I'm still dealing with ear issues, with just earwax buildup. So my hearing is not the best. So my volume control isn't in peak form. But bear with me. It should be okay. I do have the audio levels in front of me to manage, but regardless, hopefully it'll be better soon so I can get back to hearing normally. But we're going to dive on in. We're talking about nights 16 and 17 here, and then we're going to go over the scoring after day 17 and the preview for the final night of block action, which is tomorrow, Tuesday, August the 16th, which for most people, you'll probably be listening to this on the 16th or after, in the lead up to Thursday morning. So as it stands for these next three shows, for Tuesday, which is the final block action show, Wednesday, I believe, which is the semifinals, and then Thursday for the finals, I am thinking that I am going to wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock for each of these shows and watch them live. So I should be able to get reviews out quicker, and just, to stay on top of it. And then at the end of the tournament, I will have like a whole like recap of just like what worked for me, what didn't, final thoughts, MVPs, favorite matches, stuff like that. So if that's up your alley, consider checking out our YouTube channel, because that'll probably be where it goes up first. Yeah, and we've hit 200 subscribers. I forgot to mention, I completely forgot, but thank you to everybody who has subscribed to our YouTube channel in the past month. We really appreciate it. So shout out to all of you. Okay, longer intro than normal, but it is what it is. Typically I blow through these intros in like 2 minutes. So it was like 5.5 minutes. So we're going to dive on into night 16 with our commentary team of Kevin Kelly, Chris Carlton, and David Finlay. As has been the case with every single day that I've done these, I will just give the undercard results really quick before going into the actual tournament matches. So undercard for night 16, we had El Phantasmo, Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Juice Robinson defeating Jado, David Finlay, Tama Tonga, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Jonah and Bad Dude Tito defeated Tom Lawlor and Royce Isaacs. Bushi, Sonata, and Tetsuya Naito defeated Lance Archer, Zack Sabre Jr., and Taka Michinoku. And last but not least, Tomohiro Ishii, Goto, and Okada defeated Dick Togo, Sho, and Evil. So some thrilling undercard matches, I'm sure. But that would send us into our first tournament match for the night, which would be Kenta versus Aaron Henare in the C block match. So let's dive on into this. Kenta takes control here to begin the match, just keeping Henare grounded before Henare eventually fires off with his step-up kick in the corner and looks for a roundhouse kick as Kenta goes out to ringside, with Aaron Henare just chasing him down and then kicking him against the ring post. We get back in the ring and Henare controls with his strength, keeping Kenta down until Kenta manages to connect with the DDT to break things up in his favor. The Green Killer connects from Kenta, as commentary notes that Henare has earned his spot in the tournament next year, whereas with Kenta's disappointing run thus far, he is fighting to earn his spot, with both guys being eliminated up, by this point. The corner dropkick, or the corner boot, I should say, and then the hesitation dropkick and top rope double stomp all land for Kenta, but it only scores a 2 count here on Henare. Kenta comes off the ropes for a strike, but Henare catches him into the Berserker Bomb as he looks for Ultima, but Kenta manages to get his legs up onto the referee, taking him down briefly as he looks for a roll-up for a close 2 count, but then scores the patented Power Slam to set up for the GTS, but Henare fights out of it. Kenta lights him up with palm strikes. Henare then cuts off the strong strikes, just landing a body blow and a kick to the head as he looks for the Streets of Rage, but Kenta grabs at the nose of Henare and then looks for game over, but transitions into a triangle hold. The game over then gets locked in once the triangle gets broken out of, and Henare is forced to tap out. So Kenta wins, moving to 4 points, and Henare finishes his G1 this year, his first G1, I should say, 1-5 with 2 points. I thought these two had a solid little match here. Not too long, but I felt like they had solid enough chemistry, though I really didn't buy that Aaron Henare ever had a chance of winning this match. I'm excited to see him in next year's tournament, hopefully. I thought he had a very good performance throughout the G1 here in C Block, obviously despite not getting many wins, only beating Tanahashi on the first night. But yeah, again, I thought his performance-wise, like, I enjoyed I enjoyed most of his matches. I think the only one I didn't actively enjoy was his match with Evil, and that's not saying anything for Henare, that's saying something for Evil. I feel like, Finlay and Aaron Henare are two names that I don't think many people were thrilled about when they got announced for this tournament, but I feel like both guys have made the most of this year's G1 and elevated their stock in New Japan significantly. So I hope he gets into the G1 next year, and I hope Kenta can get some momentum back after the tournament concludes in a few days. And who knows, maybe we'll get the long-awaited Kenta versus not Jeff Cobb, Kenta versus Shibata match. But speaking of Jeff Cobb, he's up next. Toru Yano versus Jeff Cobb here in the A block. Jeff Cobb comes out as what was dubbed Funny Jeff, wearing a Hawaiian shirt with a chair and a DVD in hand as he gets a custom ring introduction similar to Yano to really complete the cosplay here. Yano's entire theme song then plays, and he doesn't come out as the countout starts before he quietly sneaks into the ring for a roll-up. He sprays the eyes and tries to pin Cobb again, but Cobb doesn't. It doesn't work here. Cobb gets tied up in his singlet and the apron, like the ring skirt here, as a young lion has to try and help him get out, and he gets back in at 18. Yano gets his shirt locked in over his head, the Tour of the Islands lands, and Jeff Cobb wins. Nice and short. Jeff Cobb moves to 8 points. Yano finishes with 2. Don't really have much to say. It was a Yano match, but at least some of it was funny. Shingo Takagi versus Yujiro Takahashi. I still can't believe we're living in a world where, at this point, Yujiro was leading the block. But here we are. Fighting heads to the floor early here as Peter strips out of her kimono, just trying to seduce and distract Shingo Takagi, which works briefly, as Yujiro gets a chair shot onto Shingo, and Shingo then gets dropped onto a barricade and gets taken down with a reverse DDT, so, Yujiro's in control for a while here, and as I noted, I got fairly tuned out of this for a good portion while Yujiro was in control. Shingo eventually goes for a vertical suplex, but Yuj bites the hand to get out. Looks for the Fisherman Buster, but Shingo bites back. Yujiro comes off the ropes and eats an elbow to the face and a lariat that finally takes him down, as Shingo fires off a shoulder tackle, a power slam, and a standing senton in rapid succession, and then goes for the Noshigami, which gets blocked as he gets a snap suplex to land instead for a 2 count. It's House of Torture, so of course Sho arrives, taking things in Yujiro's advantage here as he, the distraction here allows Yujiro to land the Miami Shine for a 2 count. Shenanigans involving a chair allows Yujiro to get a near fall, but Shingo blasts Takahashi, misspelled it here, whoopsie, in the back of the head. The Made in Japan lands, but Yujiro unfortunately kicks out. We go back to ringside, and Yujiro looks for Pimp Juice, but ends up getting the Fisherman Buster instead. But Shingo gets him up with a DVD on the floor here, and we get a count-out tease, but Shingo gets in at 18, and Sho throws Yujiro in at the very last second to prevent the 5th count-out of this tournament, so thank God. Shingo gets sent into Marty Asami, the ref here, as we get a ref bump. The reverse DDT lands once again, as Sho sends in the chair. Yujiro lands the chair shot to Shingo, but he kind of just no-sells it and just punches the chair into the face of Yujiro and then pegs it at Sho, taking him off of the apron. The pumping bomber lands, followed up by the last of the dragon, and Shingo Takagi wins, moving to 6 points as he now holds the tiebreaker over Yujiro as we continue Operation Chaos here. So Yujiro finishes his tournament at 3-3. Shingo moves to 3-2, tied with Finlay at this point. As David has the tiebreaker over Shingo, but Yujiro has it over Shingo, and Shingo has it over Yujiro. This doesn't make sense. David has the tiebreaker over Shingo, but Yujiro has it over Finlay, and Shingo has it over Yujiro. Meaning that it is a dead tie that would force a play-in match here, and Kevin and Kristen explain Operation Chaos as they have dubbed it. Which would lead to a 7-way tie in D block if everything goes to plan. We'll get more into it as we talk, but it'll come back later. As for this match, it was kind of crazy for how close it seemed Yujiro was to winning at points, so I feel like the drama was played well. Shingo's final comeback at the end was a great closing to this match. So I won't say that this was like the greatest match of the tournament, but I was invested. And for the 7-way tie to work, Shingo has to lose his final match, which is to El Phantasmo on tomorrow. So that sends us into Will Ospreay versus YOSHI-HASHI, which is another D block match here that plays a big factor in Operation Chaos. So for this to work, it would have required Will Ospreay to beat YOSHI-HASHI here, with Chris Carlton and Kevin saying that Kevin is asked if he's going to have t-shirts made to support the movement. But so for this to work, YOSHI-HASHI had to lose here to Will Ospreay, and then he would have to beat David Finlay on the following night, and then Shingo would have to lose on the final night, and Ospreay would have to lose on the final night. So some big requirements here. To start here, Ospreay just murders YOSHI-HASHI with a running boot off the ropes early on, as Kevin and Chris talk about Ospreay and Aussie Open entering the AEW Trios title tournament, with Ospreay being a provocateur and trying to get noticed in every company. as he just brutalizes the injured shoulder of Yoshi on the apron and takes him down to the ringside area as he just slams the shoulder directly into the ring post. YOSHI-HASHI gets control briefly here before Ospreay just flies off the ropes with a huge flying kick and a big plancha to the floor, taking down YOSHI-HASI once again. The springboard forearm lands back in the ring for Will, but only gets a 2 count as he then looks for Chelsea Grin, but can't get it as he goes for a hook kick instead. YOSHI-HASI gets a few chops in on Ospreay, but Will flips off of his chest and kicks him in the face to take him down once again. Ospreay goes up top, but Yoshi climbs up to meet him, striking the chest as he looks for the superplex, but the two trade blows to the body as Ospreay goes to town with headbutts before slamming Yoshi back into the ring, and then jumps off the top with a forearm to the back of the head, and then a Falcon Arrow for another big 2 count. The Os Cutter gets looked for, but YOSHI-HASI catches Ospreay with a Dragon Suplex as he goes back to clutching the injured shoulder, with both men getting to their feet, before YOSHI-HASI then connects with a big chop to the chest and a super kick to level Will. Karma gets looked for, but Ospreay fights out with the elbows to the shoulder of YOSHI-HASI. Both men hold onto each other's wrists here, just trying to maintain wrist control, and they unload forearms to the face for a big exchange, and they go down after Ospreay gets another big headbutt. Karma lands out of nowhere from YOSHI-HASI, but he takes too long to cover as Ospreay kicks out. Karma gets looked for again, but Ospreay counters with a cutter, and then lands the Os Cutter in succession as YOSHI-HASI just barely kicks out. The Destroyer lands for Yoshi, but Ospreay kicks out. The hook kick connects from Ospreay, a lariat from YOSHI-HASI, and a second hook kick followed up with a huge powerbomb that Yoshi somehow counters into a facebuster. He gets the Kumagoroshi, but Will kicks out for a crazy 2.9 count. Ospreay catches YOSHI-HASI with a standing Spanish fly for another 2 count. He lands the Chelsea Grin and the Hidden Blade back to back, and Will Ospreay wins. So Ospreay moves to 6 points, and YOSHI-HASI sits at 4. Operation Chaos continues coming out of this, so YOSHI-HASI would need to beat Finlay on night 17 to keep it going for the dreams of the 7-way tie in D block. And Phantasmo again needs to beat Shingo on the final night. We obviously know that YOSHI-HASI, spoiler alert, he defeated David Finlay. So but. Crazy that, this is even a possibility. It's most certainly not going to happen, but the fact that this is a possibility of a 7-way tie in the G1 Climax is wild. I thought this was a sensational main event between Ospreay and YOSHI-HASI. I will continue to praise YOSHI-HASI. I think he is one of the MVPs of this year's tournament. I thought he has had a fantastic one from top to bottom. Cannot recommend YOSHI-HASI's matches in D block enough. This guy has fucking killed it. And this is like one of the semi-main event and the main event are the 2 must-watch matches from this show. YOSHI-HASI and Will killed it. As has been the case for D block. D block has been my favorite block of the tournament. D and C block were both awesome. Besides, any evil match in C block can be skipped, but everything else in C block has been really good. And that would send us into the main event. Thank you for the air freshener that just went off in the background. But the main event, Taichi versus Jay White, as Taichi would look to end Jay's undefeated streak in the G1 this year. And this is obviously Jay's return after being pulled from 2 shows due to heat stroke. So, it was interesting to see him back. And he would, a lot of this match would, for his selling would be, selling his shortness of breath and, the effects that have been taken on him. And Taichi would target the ribs and the neck and just, make it not a fun time for Jay White. But White snaps Taichi's neck over the top rope and sends Taichi down to ringside. He takes control of the early goings on here. He drapes Taichi's neck over the railing and chokes him out of the cables at ringside. And he just tries to get the air out of Taichi here and eventually yells at Miho to shut up for supporting Taichi. Taichi gets laid out on the apron, and Jay grabs the ring skirt and wraps it around Taichi's head, basically just trying to kill the man. And then rolls him in for the pin in the ring, but Red Shoes refuses to count, obviously. And Gato protests this as Jay uses his towel to choke out Taichi while Red Shoes is getting into it with Gato before he takes the towel away. Taichi gets the kicks out against White's legs, though Jay gets a Death Valley bomb as he takes time to get back to his feet, selling the legs from the strong kicks of Taichi. We had a big running uppercut that lands in the corner, as does a blade buster from Jay, scoring a 2 count here, as he continues to sell the damage to his legs that occurred from the kicks. The Uranagi gets looked for, but Taichi swings with a kick and misses, as Jay drops him with the complete shot and then scores a deadlift German suplex. The pants come off from Taichi as Gato is dragging Miho Abe at ringside by the hair. I think this is the biggest heel move I've ever seen in New Japan, as Gato states he is going to keep her. White manages to get a cheap shot while Taichi's distracted, and Jay plays with him, questioning if he's going to save Miho. Taichi just eats chops in the corner, but makes it to his feet as he just starts no-selling these, keeping eye contact with Gato and Miho as he no-sells the offense from Jay, eventually just dropping him with a huge strike to the face as Gato lets go of Miho, with Taichi coming to ringside to her aid. Kanemaru gets off of commentary and comes for backup as to block Gato from running away. Gato gets into the ring and Taichi takes out both Jay White and Gato with a double axe bomber. A last ride powerbomb lands on Jay White as he stacks him for a big 2 count here. Buzzsaw kick from Taichi. The Blade Runner fails from Jay as Taichi hits a crazy near fall using the Gato clutch, ironically in front of Gato. The Black Mephisto gets looked for, but Jay gets out, and we get the sumo toss from Taichi before another big near fall after connecting with a massive strike to the face of Jay. A big suplex from Taichi scores another close count here, but Jay catches him with the Blade Runner as he fails to cover, and both men are laid out in the center of the ring, but another Blade Runner lands, and Jay White wins, moving to 10 points, remaining unbeaten so far in this year's tournament, as Taichi sits at 4 points. So it's looking very possible that Jay runs the gauntlet and remains undefeated in block matches, though I'm still under the assumption that Tama Tonga will be beating him tomorrow in their final match and taking the block. Storyline-wise, it just makes a lot of sense. Regardless, I thought, Jay's had a fantastic tournament in terms of his match quality, and this bout with Taichi was another notch in the belt. Even coming off a heat stroke, King Switch does not disappoint. Very strong final 2 matches on the show. YOSHI-HASHI and Will Ospreay are matches I would highly recommend. Or YOSHI-HASHI and Will Ospreay is a match I would highly recommend, and Taichi and Jay White as well. I thought they were both awesome main events here, or semi and main event. Shingo and Yujiro was better than expected. You can skip Jeff and Yano just because it was short and meaningless. And KENTA versus Henare, if you like both guys, I feel like they're both kind of acquired taste. So if you like both of them, I would recommend it. But watching the 2 main events, I think, is the necessary thing that you should be doing. But so that's it for night 16, and that'll send us into night 17 up next. All right, kicking things off with night 17, our undercard tag matches. We'd be back to 5 because there was only 4 tournament matches. So we had the team of Dick Togo, Sho, Yujiro, and Evil, the whole House of Torture here, defeating Fujita, Oiwa, Nakashima, and Hiroki Goto. Will Ospreay and Aaron Henare defeated Bad Dude Tito and Jonah. El Phantasmo, Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Juice Robinson defeated Bushi, Sonata, Shingo, and Naito. Yano, Ishii, and Okada defeated Taka Michinoku, Zack Sabre Jr., and Lance Archer, and Tama Tonga and Jado defeated Gato and Jay White, with Gato eating the gun stun. So, And that would send us into our actual tournament matches, which would be kicked off with Chase Owens and YOSHI-HASHI. Sorry, not Chase Owens and YOSHI-HASHI. It's David Finlay and YOSHI-HASHI. I have all... Man, keeping up with this tournament has taken such a toll on me. David Finlay versus YOSHI-HASHI. I put 2 people who aren't even in the same block. And commentary would be Kevin Kelly and Jonah for the tournament matches. I thought Jonah actually did a pretty good job here, joining Kevin on commentary. I really have enjoyed most of the wrestlers that they've had do commentary. I think Jonah did really good. I think ALP did really good. I think Tom Lawlor did really good. I enjoyed Lance Archer, and David Finlay I didn't find offensive. I've seen some people who thought he was terrible. Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention to his commentary, or, he didn't leave an impression on me. Compared to everybody else who was like, it was nice that they were on commentary. But we got Kevin Kelly and Jonah, and I thought they were a good fit here. As was the case with Will Ospreay in his last match, YOSHI-HASHI just gets brutalized here by Finlay in the opening moments, with David wrestling much more aggressively, as a win for Finlay here would mean he clinches the win for D-Block. So obviously he's going to try and just, end YOSHI-HASHI early by going for the injured shoulder. Finlay beats down the injured shoulder in the corner before eventually locking in a submission on Yoshi in the center of the ring. YOSHI-HASHI fires back looking for the Kumagoroshi, but he can't get it due to the injured arm, as the 2 trade hard forearms to the face here. And we get some hard chops from Yoshi that rock David Finlay's chest before we get a backslide pin attempt here. And then Finlay just drops him with 3 Uranagi backbreakers that are targeted towards the shoulder here for a 2 count. The cutter lands from Finlay, but YOSHI-HASHI still kicks out as Finlay then looks for the acid drop, but Yoshi evades and looks for the super kick as Finlay gets a roll up and then a blue thunder bomb for a pair of 2 counts here. The trash panda gets attempted, but YOSHI-HASHI slides off the back and connects with the super kick as Finlay nails a lariat and then looks for the acid drop again, but YOSHI-HASHI gets the roll up here and YOSHI-HASHI wins. So YOSHI-HASHI moves to 6 points and David Finlay sits at 6 points. Operation Chaos rolls on. The victory from YOSHI-HASHI means that the D block is still able to finish with the 7-way tie. Shingo Takagi needs to beat El Phantasmo to prevent it and win the block, and Juice needs to beat Will on the final night, and the entire block would be tied with 3-3 and unbreakable tiebreakers here that would send things into utter chaos. So, again, it's not going to happen, but the fact that I will always appreciate the G1 for booking crazy scenarios like this, and this is the craziest I think it's ever been, that there's a potential 7-way tie. But the thought that has to go into this to make sure all of these tiebreakers work mathematically, it does take a lot. So, yeah, I thought David and YOSHI-HASHI had a fun little opening match here. It's the end of the tournament, and it's not the actual final night of the tournament, so, I feel like some people are coming in a little out of steam. YOSHI-HASHI selling this injury, so it wasn't, his best match by any means, but they had a solid little match here to open the show. I really hope both guys get into the G1 next year. I thought David Finlay came out of this having raised his stock significantly. He went from a guy who I personally thought was just meh to somebody I really enjoyed this tournament. And YOSHI-HASHI remains one of my favorites in New Japan. So hopefully both of these guys are in the G1 next year because I need it. The Great-O-Khan versus Taichi. I was watching this early in the morning, and I literally will read you verbatim what I wrote here. I honestly wasn't paying too much attention to this, but this was over fairly quickly. With some attempted pins and mat wrestling, the Great-O-Khan got the pin out of nowhere off of a suplex and pin combo. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm looking for... I don't have the match time up in front of me. I guess I can go get it. Just because I'm curious, because I wrote that it was short. It's going to be funny. This is like 15 minutes. No, okay. 7 minutes. 7 minutes with the pancake hold listed as the finish. Whatever that is. So yeah. Don't have much thoughts on this. I was, this is breakfast time for me. I was eating some breakfast, and this was a match I didn't really care that much about. But Great-O-Khan won, so he finishes with 4 points. Taichi finishes with 4, and that's their G1. I don't think Great-O-Khan had the best tournament. I thought his match with Jay White was exceptional. I thought that was a fantastic match. Taichi, I thought, had a bunch of really good matches, but Great-O-Khan was somebody who I think I was disappointed with a bit in terms of performance-wise. Jeff Cobb versus Tom Lawlor. You can see where I'm at right now. It's about 8 o'clock here. I'm going to finish recording this. I'm going to start exporting the stuff, the video to YouTube. I'm going to go for a walk, have some dinner, come back in and shower, and then upload this, and then I'm probably going to watch some Evangelion and go to bed because I'm going to be waking up early for these next 3 days for the final days of the G1. So bear with me here, trying to get through all this. But lockups to start as Tom Lawlor breaks out the strikes, going for some kicks and knees before getting sent across the ring with a big fall-away slam, which Jonah called the sack of shit. Cobb goes for a splash in the corner, but Lawlor catches him in the rear naked choke as the two men fall out to the ringside area, with Lawlor taking a rough landing as the two trade forearms down on the floor. Cobb gets a throat thrust before Lawlor comes back and locks in a submission back in the ring as Cobb just lifts him and power bombs Tom onto the apron to break it up. Lawlor prevents the standing moonsault from Cobb as he locks the leg and goes for a knee bar, but Cobb escapes as Tom just kicks at the knees before transitioning into an arm bar. Big fists connect from Cobb here, just attacking the ribs of Tom Lawlor as we get a crazy overhead suplex from Jeff Cobb that sends Lawlor flying across the ring again. The pump handle suplex gets looked for from Cobb as Lawlor gets his feet onto the rope and then counters, slamming Cobb's face down onto the mat before landing an Uranage on Jeff Cobb for a 2 count. That is very impressive to see Tom Lawlor do. He's a smaller guy. A series of running elbows connect in the corner from Cobb before getting placed onto the top rope as he jumps off into a choke that Jeff transitions into a running suplex to take down Lawlor. A Kamingiri from Tom Lawlor here gets followed up with a spin kick to the back of the head that gets another 2 for the former strong openweight champion. Rapid, hard forearms all land across the face from Tom Lawlor before Cobb fires off with a big super kick out of nowhere. But Tom drops Cobb with a right hand across the face, just a crazy strike here, just basically like a knockout slap across the face as both men just face plant onto the mat together. Tom's up first, and he misses with the running PK as Cobb catches him and then gets a German suplex here. Holding on as Tom tries to fight out, but Cobb drops him a second time. Lawlor holds onto the arm and locks in the Kimura lock, preventing the third suplex, just kneeing the arm of Cobb and then kneeing him in the face. He connects with a Kamigoye for a near fall. Lawlor sets up for the nasty knee, but Cobb gets out as Lawlor then gets the Regalplex as he drops Jeff Cobb and then follows up with the nasty knee on the brain, and Tom Lawlor wins, moving to 6 points, and Jeff Cobb sits at 6, and this loss to Tom Lawlor eliminates him from the tournament. I thought these two had a really good match. I really like Tom Lawlor. I hope we get more of him in New Japan. I would really like to see Lawlor versus Zack Sabre Jr. in a singles match. And, because it is New Japan and we have the Forbidden Door, I would very much like to see Tom Lawlor versus Bryan Danielson. I think that would be awesome if we can get that New Japan versus AEW match. I think that would be awesome. So I love this. I really love Jeff Cobb, and Tom Lawlor has sold me this tournament. So big fan. And that would send us on to the main event, which was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kenta in the C block. Hiroshi Tanahashi needed to win this match. And so outside of the ring, Kenta gets a chair and brings it in. Giving it to Tanahashi is a bit of a distraction as he takes control of the ace to start here, just unloading with fists in the corner. He nails a kick to the back for a 2 count. We go down to the floor, and Kenta drops Tanahashi with the first DDT of the match onto the wooden floor of the basketball arena, as they note. As commentary notes that it's a wooden floor here. And so yeah. And he nails Tanahashi with kicks against the barricade. Kenta just keeps control here in his favor before sending Tana into the barricade, back first, and then back into the ring. And he gets a 2 count off of all this offense. Tanahashi shows a bit of an offensive comeback later on, but Kenta cuts it short with a snap power slam to take him back down to the mat again. He goes up to the top turnbuckle and snaps the neck of Tanahashi over the rope with like his looks like the setup for a tornado DDT, but he just like snaps him over the rope. So yeah, where were we? And then Kenta goes back up and comes off with a diving lariat for another 2 count. We get a forearm exchange that breaks out as the two go back to their feet. Tanahashi going for the southpaw slap and accidentally nails Red Shoes as Kenta drops him with the DDT. With Red Shoes down and basically knocked out, Kenta gets the crutch from under the ring and just lays into Tanahashi for his own form of payback after the injuries he suffered in their match at Wrestle Kingdom, obviously, back in January. Back to the floor, yet another DDT lands for Kenta as he grabs the timekeeper's table and sets it up next to the ring. Tana gets laid out on the table and Kenta goes up to the top as he basically is going to try and stomp Tanahashi through the table. But Tana gets up and joins Kenta as Tanahashi looks to superplex Kenta off the top turnbuckle and down to the floor through a table. But Kenta prevents it with headbutts to Tanahashi. He sends the ace down onto the apron and then lands the Green Killer rope hung DDT. So basically just this whole match is DDTs to Tanahashi's head. Red Shoes gets back in as we get the big boot in the corner and the hesitation drop kick landing directly to the face of Tanahashi from Kenta. And he goes up high as he comes off the top with the double stomp, but Tanahashi kicks out at 2. Tanahashi gets hung up on the ropes and Kenta just lifts the table and tosses it at the head of Tanahashi here. Something I've never seen somebody use the table as a throwing weapon. The GTS gets called for back in the ring, but Tana gets off and lands a twist and shout. He looks for the sling blade, but Kenta catches him in the GTS as Tana does counter out of this and lands two sling blades for a 2 count. Tanahashi climbs up top and connects with Aces High, but he can't get High Five Flow as Kenta gets the knees up. The Busaiku knee lands, but only a near fall. Kenta looks for the GTS once again as Tanahashi gets out with the inside cradle that he's won throughout this tournament. So big near fall here as Kenta gets out right at the end and then just brutalizes Tanahashi with palm strikes, eventually dropping him with the last one for basically like a knockout slap. A huge knee strike just right across the face to Tanahashi, and he gets him up and go to sleep. Kenta wins, moving to 6 points. He finishes even, and he cuts off Hiroshi Tanahashi, prevents Tanahashi from making the semifinals, and yeah, he effectively eliminates Tanahashi from the tournament. So I thought these two had a very, very good main event. I'm still a Kenta supporter. I know everybody doesn't love him, but I still really like Kenta, and Tanahashi's the ace for a reason. So I thought very strong main event here. Easily the match of the day. So coming out of this are points heading into the final night of block action. A block is led by Okada with 8 points. And the only person who is technically Jonah's still in it heading into this, but Lance Archer is the other person. So Kazuchika Okada at 8 points, Toru Yano at 2, Tom Lawlor at 6, Jonah at 6, Jeff Cobb at 6, Lance Archer at 6, and Bad Luck Fale at 4. We'll go over, how Jonah could win when we get to that, when we go over the final night's card. B block is led by Jay White at 10 points. And we have Tamatanga is the only other person in contention here at 8 points. And they face each other on the final day of the tournament. Sonata at 6 points, Chase Owens, Great Okan, and Taichi at 4, and Tomohiro Ishii at 2. Just had a terrible tournament in-ring-wise. Not in-ring-wise, scoring-wise. Ishii still had a fairly good tournament, like match quality-wise. C block, Tetsuya Naito at 6, Hiroki Goto at 6, Hiroshi Tanahashi at 6, Kenta at 6, Aaron Henare at 2, Evil at 4, and leading the block is Zack Sabre Jr. as he fights Naito on the last night, and the only 3 people in contention are Zack, Naito, and Goto. And then for D block, the craziness of D block here, Yujiro Takahashi, Will Ospreay, Shingo Takagi, Finlay, and YOSHI-HASHI at 6 points, Juice and Phantasmo at 4. If Juice and Phantasmo win on the final night, we have a 7-way unbreakable tie between everybody in the D block. So, fun. So let's go over I'll give the updated score for our predictions challenge that we're doing, and then I will go over the final night of the tournament. So, coming out of night 17, I was not a strong night for everybody. Angelo only got 1, Rob got 2, Joey got 2, Ryan, Sam, and myself, Pat, got 3. So, our scores heading into the final night of the block matches are Ryan at 40, Sam at 40, Joey at 40, Angelo at 41, Pat at 44, and Rob at 49. And then obviously we have these 8 matches, and we have bonus points that we'll get to when we, when we get to the end of the tournament. So, all right. So let's go over this card. We have 8 tournament matches tomorrow at 5 a.m. I will be watching this live, and it's going to be quite the time, I'm sure. So opening the show, they did give us the order that we're going in. So opening the show is Will Ospreay and Juice Robinson is opening the show. So an Ospreay win here and a Takagi loss wins the block for Will Ospreay. If Robinson wins and Takagi loses his match, we get the tie. That is Juice's only hope of surviving. And then our second match is Shingo versus El Phantasmo. So these are going back to back. Takagi win. He takes the block and wins. Phantasmo wins and Ospreay loses his match. We get the tie. So the first 2 matches of this show are going to be very, very thrilling. My assumption is that Juice beats Ospreay. I have to assume they go that route. Juice beats Ospreay. That sets up Juice to get a shot at Ospreay's title that he still has. I feel like that just makes sense. Juice beats him. They tease the 7-way tie. And then Shingo beats ELP with some crazy near falls that they really sell that ELP is going to do it. And then Phantasmo disappoints the rest of the block. I feel like that's just the way that it has to happen. Then we go to our third match, Hiroki Goto versus Evil. Goto has to win his match, and Zack has to lose to Naito, as it would force a tie between Naito and Goto has the tiebreaker, which would mean he wins C block. Evil's eliminated, so this is really is Evil going to play spoiler for Goto. My assumption is that Evil beats Goto here, but we'll see. And then following this up, Naito versus Sabre. Very surprised this is going on early, but it does appear that we're going to have these 4 matches and then the break, like the intermission, and then we'll move on to the other ones. But I figured this one would be up towards the top of the card, as this is one of the matches with the highest stakes and one that is very unpredictable, I think, for a lot of people. I think Sabre makes a good call for going to the semis, and Naito has a good chance of winning the whole tournament. So So basically, if Zack wins or draws in this match, he takes the block. Naito has to win. And that sends us to Tomohiro Ishii versus Sanada, a match with 0 stakes. Both guys are eliminated and have no effect on Jay and Tama Tonga. So you would have assumed that, Sanada and Tomohiro Ishii would open the show since there's no stakes attached to their match, but oh well. Also kind of surprised that this isn't the semi-main event, but Jay White versus Tama Tonga. Jay White, he has to win. He does not have to win. He has to win or draw, and he wins the block. If Tama Tonga wins, he wins the block. He would tie Jay, and he would have the tiebreaker, and likely Tama Tonga would be Jay's big challenger for the fall. So my assumption is Tama Tonga. Bad Luck Fale versus Jonah. Technically, Jonah is not mathematically eliminated. If he beats Fale, and then if he were to run in and cause a double disqualification, or I guess no contest in the main event, Jonah would win the block. So that's not going to happen, especially with the way the card is structured. So effectively, Jonah is eliminated. But yeah, I'm glad the semi-main event is also a match that technically has no stakes. And the main event, Okada versus Lance Archer. Okada, he needs to win or draw. He takes the block. If Archer wins, he wins the block and would have the second win over Okada in this tournament. So yeah, so that's the G1 block finals, and then I believe Wednesday night is our semifinals. We have nothing announced for that show, but we know that we're gonna have 2 semifinals matches. Obviously, if D Block does go to the tie, then D Block is gonna have some other matches on that show. So that's the only reason I could see them doing it, is that it would give the rest of the show something to do. But it's probably, I'd assume, just undercard tag matches. And then Thursday is the actual finals. And typically the finals are a pretty big show. Yeah, but that's that. So that's the news that we caught up. I'm going to put this out as soon as I can. It's going to come out later than planned, but it's just a matter of when I got to be able to do it with work and stuff. So thank you for joining me for another episode of our G1 coverage here at the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. Remember, if you have enjoyed this, please support us by subscribing to the podcast on streaming services and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave likes, ratings, comments, whatever you can. We appreciate it. And yeah, I'll talk to you in the next episode as we continue our G1 coverage in the final days of the tournament. So thank you for listening, and adios from me. Have a good rest of your night or a good morning whenever you're listening to this.